everybody, it's your boy Daytime Cheese, and we are officially less than 24 hours away from the Ducks kicking off the 2025-2026 football season against the FCS champion runner-up Montana State Bobcats in Autzen Stadium, happening tomorrow, August 30th at 3:30 Eastern Time. I am so excited for this game. Let's get into my final thoughts. And you guys like the new background, huh? We got the duck plushes, we got the hurricane pillows, we got the Funko Pops, we got the mini helmets up here, and we got the Autzen Stadium panorama. I think it looks pretty nice. So yeah, let's kick off this final thoughts video with the biggest news of this game so far. Neither team has yet to name a starting quarterback less than 24 hours before this game kicks off. Most likely, the Ducks will name Dante Moore, the transfer quarterback from UCLA 2 years ago, now a redshirt sophomore, as their starting quarterback over Austin Novosad. However, I am not sure who the Montana State Bobcats will be starting at quarterback. I really have no clue. They have either a redshirt freshman or their Stanford transfer quarterback in their options for their starting QB, but they have not announced one. Neither have the Ducks. So this is going to be very interesting. So let's get into the real first final thought of this video, which is I really don't know how either of these two offenses are going to look in this game. Of course, this is the first game either of these two teams have played in the 2025-2026 regular season, but both teams lost a lot of production on the offensive side of the ball in this past offseason. So, of course, the Ducks losing Jordan James, Dylan Gabriel, Tez Johnson. A lot of their receivers, running backs, and quarterbacks are gone. So this is going to be a very interesting look and very new look for both of these teams coming into 2025. Now, the other thing I wanted to discuss is the defensive side of the ball. While I have not seen a lot on Montana State, it is very difficult to find a lot of information on this team. The Ducks do have a lot of returning firepower on the defensive side of the ball. Bryce Beckcher coming back for his 5th year as a Duck, Mateo Uiagalelei, Tuoli, and so many other players on this Ducks defense are returning from a very potent Ducks defense last year. So I do think the Ducks have a very good advantage on the defensive side of the ball in this game. Now, on the offensive side, both teams having a new look could have issues on both teams' offenses. Of course, Montana State's going to struggle a little bit more because they have to go up against that prolific Ducks offense. Nope. They go against the Ducks defense. Sorry about that. They go against the Ducks defense. But the Ducks, having a more or less completely new group in the skill positions, will also struggle at the beginning. We don't know how their chemistry is. They have less than a year together, all working together. And of course, who was expected to be the leader of this offense, Evan Stewart, is out with injury. So it comes on to 5-star true freshman Decorion Moore to really be the wide receiver one for this team in his true freshman season. Now, I do think Decorion Moore is talented enough to do that. I do think he is talented enough to become the wide receiver one of this team in his first year. But we also have to consider true freshman mistakes. They happen a lot more often than just any freshman mistakes because they don't have the experience of practice like a redshirt freshman would have. So we do have to consider that both sides have issues on that offensive side of the ball. Now, I also do predict that throughout this season, the Ducks offense will be one of the best in college football. But week 1 is going to be a very interesting showing on how that prediction will go. If off the rip, this Ducks offense could be as prolific as it was last season, this Ducks offense will no question be one of the best groups in the league. However, getting off to a slow start doesn't really give much for this season, but definitely gives a lot of hope for the next couple of seasons for this Ducks offense. Another thing I do want to discuss is how this game will be not very important. Of course, a loss for the Ducks here would be absolutely monumentally destroying. I do not foresee that happening. I will never take an FCS school over a top 10 school in the FBS. However, a struggle in this game does not really mean much. We saw the Ducks struggle against a much worse Idaho team last season at the beginning of the season and still end up being the number 1 seed in the college football playoffs. So, while Oregon may not play their best football this first game, it does not mean the end of the world. So don't worry your butts off if the Ducks don't win this one by 75 points. Now, the other thing I want to mention is you need to look out for how Dan Lanning's offense will run in this game. Will they give Dante Moore a lot of quarterback runs? He's a very good dual threat quarterback, which we did not have as great of in Dylan Gabriel last year. Dylan Gabriel is much more of a Russell Wilson type quarterback who will improvise and make those decisions on the go. Now, Dante Moore is much more of a Lamar Jackson type quarterback who could run the ball on quarterback design plays, but also throw the ball deep when need be. So, which skill set will Dan Lanning and this Ducks offense use more? Now, of course, on the ground, we now have Malachi Hughes, which is an amazing running back that was a very important piece in Tulane's success last year. However, he was not really used in the receiving game. And last year, we saw Jordan James being used in the receiving game a lot. So how will that transform in this Ducks offense this season? It really seems that we will be using Noah Whittington a lot more in the passing game than we will be using Malachi Hughes. So I really am excited to see how the Ducks will go in this game, and it is important to see these first steps that this team is taking together. Unlike teams like the Alabamas, the Clemsons, the Ohio States, the Miamis, the Ducks do kind of have a warm-up game. They don't immediately go into a top 10 or top 15 ranked matchup, or a matchup with a very difficult opponent. And they are playing this game at home. So the Ducks have a lot of advantages in this game that a lot of college football teams wouldn't have week 1. But hey, that's just my take. I am excited to see how the Ducks play out this first game against the Montana State Bobcats. And yeah, I have to thank you all for watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and yeah, go Ducks. And as always, I bleed orange and green and yellow and daytime out.